So there was actually a couple questions in the Facebook group about anxiety and OCD and having these repetitive thoughts. One of the best things that you can do, first, I want you to understand that your thinking, your psychology is equal to your physiology. So if you've always been an overthinker, overanalyzer, really have a hard time with ruminating thoughts and shutting your brain off, at some point your body experienced a level of trauma that dysregulated your physiology. It may have been one event or it may have been many events, small traumas over time. But your thinking is equal to your physiology. And so when we see somebody with, high anxiety, obsessive compulsive stuff, ruminating, catastrophizing, their physiology, their chemistry in their body is extremely dysregulated. So we can take a bottom up or a top down approach or both. In New You, we're taking both. So we're balancing our physiology with the breathing, with all of the stuff in New You that balances and heals the nervous system, with the meditation, with balancing our blood sugar. There's so much that we're doing in New You to balance our physiology so that our brain waves are not stuck in this hyperactive over high beta brainwave state. We really have to look at separating ourselves from our thoughts. There was a thread in the Facebook group where a lot of people were talking about just struggling with sort of this almost ruminating need for control, just the constant thinking and not being able to break out of that. When we do the journaling exercise and we just sort of write with this stream of consciousness and we just let these words, these thoughts come out, one of the most powerful things that happens is we separate ourselves from them. We are not our thoughts. And because we're wired for survival, our body, we're going to be looking for threats in our environment. So there's going to be worst case scenario thinking. There's going to be fears and anxieties that come up. So we have to understand that because we're wired that way, these things they're there to help keep us alive, but they're not always helpful and they don't always allow us to thrive and be really, happy. And so when you're doing the journaling, this is a really good time to separate yourself from your thoughts. I also want you to understand that the reason that we think, the reason that we overanalyze, the reason that we ruminate, we use thinking as a way to cope from discomfortable feeling. So a lot of us that are thinkers and analyzers and we're always thinking and solving and analyzing, or maybe we're obsessing and we're ruminating, that was a coping mechanism that you learned at some point throughout your life to avoid feeling, because whatever you were feeling, the amount of dysregulation you were feeling in your body was too much. What separates the unconscious mind from the conscious mind is the analytical mind. So when we stop analyzing and thinking and solving and controlling and ruminating, we're way more in touch with our unconscious mind, the program that's literally causing the effect in our life, the thoughts we're having, we're way more in touch with it. But as long as we're thinking and analyzing and solving, we're completely separate from the unconscious. We have a really hard time observing who we're being because we're constantly stuck in our head. We get stuck there as a way to avoid pain. We felt fear, judgment, anger, shame, whatever it was at some point, typically before the age of 7. And the physiology, the emotion, what we felt in our body was so uncomfortable or painful that we learned to think as a way to avoid feeling. As long as you're thinking, you can't be feeling. So as long as you're thinking and analyzing, trying and do stuck in your head, you're repressing emotions. So for those of you that are struggling with anxiety, erasing mind, ruminating thoughts, catastrophizing, just know that your thinking is a way that helped you survive, that helps you adapt to the trauma, the pain, the discomfort that you experienced at some point in your life. So it's there for a reason. There's nothing wrong with you. Your thinking, your psychology is also equal to your physiology, the dysregulated nervous system. Maybe your breathing changed. A lot of people, when they experience a trauma, their breathing will become really rapid and shallow, and it just stays that way. Your body adapts to that over time. And so again, you have all the tools that you need in New You to learn how to establish a healthier breathing pattern, calm the nervous system, calm your physiology, increase self-awareness. If you find that your body is tense all the time, your shoulders are by your ears, you're constantly tuning in and reconnecting to the way that your body feels, and you start to become aware of that, observe it, and relax your body, that's calming your physiology. When you calm your physiology, you make your psychology, your mental health, the way you think, the way your brain works, healthier. But when our physiology is really dysregulated, our thinking is equal to that, and our brain is stuck in this high, hyperactive state. So in New You, we take a bottom-up and a top-down approach. But I can tell you, trying to stop thinking and trying to repress what you're thinking, because it's like, oh no, I don't want to think that. I don't want to, that scares me. Oh no. Attaching to the story, getting wrapped up in it, identifying with it is causing it to continue. The way that we overcome it is we separate ourselves from it. We write it all out. We get it all out on paper. And we don't judge it and analyze it and think about it and try to figure out why we ruminate. We just understand that we need to get it out. We need to be separate from it. We need to observe it rather than be it. And over time, your physiology balances and you have less of the rumination. And the less focused you are on trying to make it all go away, the faster it goes away. By hyper-focusing on your anxiety or your ruminating or your OCD or your constant need for control, you're making it worse. You're creating resistance. You're expanding what you're focusing on. So we understand that we are not our thoughts. We understand that most of our thoughts are not true. This ruminating, the fearful thoughts, most of it's not true. We separate ourselves from our thoughts. We work on balancing our physiology, and pretty soon our thoughts we have less of those OCD tendencies, anxiety, stress, ruminating as our physiology balances. So start paying attention to your body, because I can tell you a lot of people that struggle with these issues carry a lot of tension in their body and they're not even aware. When we experience trauma at a young age, we disconnect from the sensations in our body and we go in our head, and we start to think and ruminate and solve, and then we have anxiety issues and we don't know why. Well, it is easier to think than to feel. Feeling can be really uncomfortable, but that's what's going to allow you to heal, is to move toward the discomfort in your body, to start to observe the tension in your body and the dysregulation that you're feeling in your body and move toward it and reconnect with it. So the next time you start ruminating and thinking and anxiety and all of that stuff, tune into your body. Relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath. Feel your heart rate come down. And then remind yourself you're not your thoughts. And that if you believe all the thoughts you have, you're going to be anxious. Most of our thoughts are irrational fears coming from limiting beliefs, but we have less of them when we start to heal our physiology, which is what will happen in New You. So continue to do that work.